Well, last night in Gosford, the Matildas defeated New Zealand by 5-0. My name is Poletti. No Bert today, but I do have Jacob Stevens joining me for this little game recap here on the Dubcast. You may notice if you're watching the video, I am in a different location than usual. I am at the Marconi Stadium press box today. I've just watched Marconi beat Modern City 1-0 in the Australian Championship. But we are here on the Dubcast to talk all things Matildas and New Zealand football Ferns today. Jacob, 5-0 win is, you can't ask for much more than that, can you?
I could ask for like 6 or 7, and it felt like that was probably a pretty likely outcome as well. Obviously, the penalty save, and then Hayley Russo had that chance in the first half as well, lobbing the keeper, didn't quite manage to find the back of the net. But no, pretty comprehensive victory, and I don't know, is it too early to say the Matildas are back?
I think I might want to see a little bit more about how they do against New Zealand in Adelaide first. But I mean, I guess just on the game itself, you said it could have been 6 or 7, and I mean it probably would have been if it wasn't for Annalise in goals for the football Ferns. What a performance on her return to the national team.
Yeah, and like it just stepped up, and I mean the scoreline doesn't look great for a goalkeeper, right? But I feel like you can't really pin many, if any, of those goals on her. I mean, you think like Kyra Cooney-Cross's hit was just ridiculous. Like, there's nothing you can do about that. But when she needed to step up and make the saves, like from the penalty, she did it. So, I think it was, definitely an impressive return. And I think that a lot of people kind of saw that as well. They were like, well, she was just under a lot of pressure the whole game long. So the fact that it was only 5 is actually probably a pretty good outcome, and shows that, she was actually, doing her job. It was kind of that defense around her that fell apart far too easily. That just, I don't know how many shots she faced, but it felt like it was about 100.
It certainly wasn't an easy night in goals for Anna Leard, but I mean, honestly, like I look at it, like I think it was I've got the numbers here in front of me. So Australia had 23 total shots. Like not all of them were on target. I think nine saves have been credited to Leard, so that would have made 14 on target? My math is right, so that's a pretty good return for the Aussies there on the attacking front. But I don't quite know how to look at that game as a whole, because it was just New Zealand were on the back foot so early. It's just so hard to really take anything away from it because of how quickly the goals came.
Yeah, and I think it's also a case of it kind of just being this friendly, like, you go down early and it kind of feels like, okay, that's just going to be how the game is going to be. And like you said, it can be difficult to work back from that. But it just felt like from the get-go, really, that New Zealand were going to be under the pump in this one. The Tillies really turned up in this one, which I thought was really good to see after, what was, we all kind of said perhaps a little bit of a missed opportunity in the last window, especially with that England game and the way that panned out. It was good to see them coming out, firing on all cylinders and really wanting to get a good strong result and show the quality of football that they can play. So I think it was promising from that regard. But for New Zealand, it can't have been the most enjoyable game of football they've ever played. Obviously a chance to redeem themselves on Tuesday night in Adelaide, which hopefully it'll be for New Zealand's sake a bit of a tighter affair, and they can actually play some football and have a bit of a stake in the match. But it's just from the get-go, the Matildas were completely all over them, and it just felt like for the football Ferns, they weren't really going to be able to get a foot in all game long, and they didn't really. So it's just one of those difficult ones. You just got to dust yourself off and move on from that.
That's exactly the sort of the way you need to look at it. Montemurro did say in his post-game press conference that he was talking about they were also opened up quite a little bit. It wasn't quite as smooth sailing as the scoreline might suggest, that New Zealand were able to push them out wide and sort of take advantage of some space in through the middle, and there were a couple of points where it looked quite promising on attack for the football Ferns, even if it wasn't necessarily as I guess what's the word I'm looking for here, successful as it was for the Aussies. Do you think that maybe that's something to be concerned about, is just sort of the way New Zealand were able to open Australia up with points?
I suppose, look, you've is it like because it didn't really amount to much. That's the other thing, right? Is yes, there were passages of play where they did find that space and they found openings and they were able to progress the ball pretty easily. But if it's at the end of the day, you're kind of just shutting them down in the final third anyway, it's not a huge issue, I don't think. Perhaps obviously against stronger sides, no discredit to New Zealand when I say that, by the way, but if you do come up against stronger sides, it will be an issue because they might be a little bit stronger in that final third and make things more difficult for you. But I just think still the biggest thing that's plaguing the Matildas is kind of almost instability in a way, where it's like, and I think you and Burke spoke about this after that England game, where it feels like nobody's really sure what the best starting 11 is, who should be playing where, who's going to have the best impact in each position. And I feel like that's probably the more pressing matter, is finding out what's your starting 11 going to be heading into this home Asian Cup, and in finding that, hopefully some of those issues through the middle of the park and the structure there will actually be sorted by having, a solid, well-established starting lineup. But yeah, I think just a lot of chopping and changing. Emily Van Egmond comes back in, starts again. Katrina Gorry was, and I think you commented on this, Poletti, what a game, right? Like that was a fantastic performance from her, and it's really difficult to, if that's the type of performance she's going to put in, to not start her moving forwards, where it seems like not long ago everyone was saying, okay, maybe her time with the Matildas has kind of passed her by a little bit. So I mean, I think it's great to see that, but it just throws another player into that mess now of who do I pick, right, for Joe? Like, who's going to be the starting 11? And Katrina Gorry's now, if she can perform like that, like I said, it's going to be difficult to look past her. So yeah, it's just a bit crazy there.
Yeah, well, I guess just on that, you raised the point there. You've got Katrina Gorry. Steph Catley was the centre back, Courtney Nevin at left back, because I think in part because Charlie Grant's injured. Montemurro did say it looks like he's going to be out till Christmas because of that knee injury that she suffered in training with Tottenham. Katrina Gorry's announced herself. Like I saw, I want to say it was Ben Smith from the West Australian, on social media, just like he basically posted the screenshot of like the Michael Jordan "I'm back" letter talking about Katrina Gorry's
yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
first half, and she really stood out. And then I guess we were talking in the Joe Montemurro in the lead up to the game in his squad selection press conference mentioned the idea of why he brought Tamika Yallop back in, and was talking about that he wanted a creative midfielder who could break through the lines. And he said after the game that he was quite impressed by her performance, and if she continues on the way that she's looked like in that game, that she's going to be a key part of the Asian Cup squad, which I find to be quite interesting, to be honest. I wouldn't have thought that, not to say that it's passed Tamika Yallop by at this stage, but I just, because she hasn't had a chance to play under Montemurro yet, I thought it was interesting that that was his particular player.
Yeah, is it also a case of like Yallop has been there and done that for the Matildas now over a number of years, and okay, she might not be getting that starting spot, right, but to just have her around the squad, that option off the bench, a bit of versatility there, a lot of experience and some leadership, that those kind of intangible qualities are perhaps what Joe is seeing there as being like, well, this is why we really want her, and the fact that she's able to still perform at a decent standard as well obviously makes that choice a lot easier. But I'm wondering, how much of that plays into it, because you don't want to be heading into a tournament where realistically you should be one of the favourites on home soil, and lack that kind of experience and that presence that can just kind of guide the team a little bit. And I think that's what you get a lot from a player like Tamika Yallop. So it's definitely, it's an interesting way of thinking about it, I think. But it's just, it's the case that I think whoever is picked and whoever makes the squad and things, there's going to be one or two players where you go, it's harsh on them for not making it. So I think for Montemurro, it's looking at those, not just their qualities as a player, but also their qualities, as a person, and what they actually bring to the squad in terms of mentality, in terms of passion and dedication and leadership. So those are other things as well that I think fall in Yallop's favour a little bit.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Burke and I discussed after the England game that maybe Montemurro wasn't as close to being able to work out what his Asian Cup squad was going to be as perhaps he thought. But I think based on last night's performance and his comments after the game, that he's a lot closer to that than he was a month ago. Which, I mean, I guess it's good that he knows what he wants.
He's getting there, yeah.
He's getting there slowly. 8 games is going to have to be enough, as he said, but. Yeah, it makes for interesting times ahead. I want to flip the script now, and I want to talk about the football Ferns specifically here. So we both listened to the press conference from last night. The vibes were off. Like,
so weird, yeah.
It was a weird press conference. It was, talking about how they're doing some things good, some things not so good. But it just didn't like. Maybe I'm looking at it through a slightly particular lens, but it felt like a coach who has been every bit of getting absolutely dominated.
Yeah.
Not only just in that game, but like their last 4 results across the last 2 windows have been 1-0, 2-0, 6-0, and now 5-0 in a game where it could have been 6 or 7-0 last night, possibly more. 14 goals conceded, 0 scored over the last 4 games they played. I don't know what to make of this, because I don't think Michael Maine knows what to make of this side.
And that's right. That's the vibe that I got as well. Right? It just felt like he was just going through the motions of, well, this is the kind of thing that coaches say after a loss. But it almost didn't take into consideration the context of the fact that, like you said, they've conceded 14 goals and scored none over the last few fixtures, and it's like, well, what's going on here? Like, why is this happening? What's falling apart? It just seems like he potentially is just unaware of what the issue is, so can't really speak to it, or has tried some stuff and it's not worked, and so is even more lost. Like it feels like something's kind of fallen apart there a little bit. If it's at a coaching level, if it goes further than that, if it's the players, if it's what, like, but something is clearly not right with New Zealand, and this is a program that has the potential there, right? And I think that's the most frustrating thing, is that it just feels like they've taken a left turn when they should have taken a right turn or whatever, right? And they're just starting to trend in the wrong direction, and it's really disappointing. So when the coach is coming out and is just giving general media sound bites that aren't particularly insightful and don't really suggest anything, it kind of feels like either he's just over it and done with it, and it's like, just, I don't know what more to say, or is just unaware of what the issue is. And I think that either of those being the answer is a bad thing for this football team. So, something's got to be sorted out soon, because these performances are, doesn't look like they're going to get better, obviously, coming up against the Matildas again on Tuesday. So, they could be in for another similar loss, and then the questions start to come even thicker and faster.
Well, one of those questions is Rebekah Stott. There's been a lot of talk when this squad was announced, but throughout the year, that Rebekah Stott has been mostly absent from the lineup. And I asked Maine about it after the game, and he basically said she knows what she needs to do. Everyone who's not in camp has been told what they need to do to work on to be selected, and that he's been given the task by New Zealand football to get them prepared for the 2027 World Cup. But I looked at the way they conceded those first 2 goals, and I can't help but feel that someone, like Rebekah Stott, would have helped not concede at least one of those goals. Her presence, I felt, would have been better suited, and that's not a knock on anyone who was selected, but I felt like their game was just calling out for Rebekah Stott at the back. Her veteran leadership, her experience, and her skill level. Like, she's still one of the best players in the A-League women, and should be starting for New Zealand. In the meantime, you've got Annalie Longo in midfield, who's playing semi-professional football for Auckland United in the National League, and she's running out as captain. Like, it just doesn't seem like it's making sense here.
No, it's all a little bit disjointed, isn't it? And it's like, Stott knows what she needs to do to make the team. What more can she do, realistically, right? Like, what? starting games for City over the last few years, winning everything there is to win. Okay, genuinely, what more can she do to get that spot?
Get clean sheets for both sides in a game.
Yeah, 0-0 draw. But that's the thing, right? It's like she's not put a foot wrong. She's been starting. It's not like she's not been starting games. It's not like she's been injured. It just doesn't seem to. Yeah, it doesn't seem to add up. And then you say, you have somebody like Longo coming out as captain, who she's a fine player, but you just go, yeah, but there are other players that you'd argue would be an even better choice, and it just, something is completely disjointed. And I don't know if, to me, and this is a bit of an outsider's perspective, not knowing a huge amount about the setup there, but it kind of feels like a bit of just like a last-ditch attempt to try and get anything right out of this team. Is just, well, we'll just try whatever we've got and just see what happens. And it does kind of feel like the death throes of a coach in a way. But yeah, like this idea that Stott needs to just keep, like, she's been performing for years and years and years and years. Like, just put her in the squad. She's arguably your best player. Like, so you can't. You see the flack that coaches get anywhere else for not picking like a star player or one of their best players, right? And it's like, where is that coming here? Again, maybe I'm not seeing it because I'm not in those New Zealand football circles, but it just feels like it's kind of been glossed over a little bit, and it just is crazy to me.
Yeah, it definitely seems crazy to me as well. A couple of last things we'll touch on today. Kyra Cooney-Cross, my word, what a screamer of a goal that was.
Oh, and what a player as well. And as an Arsenal fan, it's really disappointing to not see her getting minutes for Arsenal, because it's like, she's so good, and it feels like she needs to make the move somewhere that's going to value her and her skills and her ability, which we saw on full display last night. In that game, just I think was it Andy Harper said she is football personified or something like that on the commentary, which I think is perfect because she's just such a classy player. Really, very, very good on the ball. Obviously, can hit the ball very nicely. Seems to have a knack for doing that for the Matildas, and just her presence of mind to pick out the right pass. Positioning off the ball is great as well. Out of possession, defends really well. It's just she's such a well-rounded player. I've always seen it, and I've always been, she can be a really high quality player. She needs to get those minutes at club level as well, and that's going to push her even further, I think. So I think that's the big takeaway for her from this one is yes, she can play at this level. So it's about finding somewhere that's going to let her do that consistently, and that's only going to help her out in the national team setup as well moving forwards, because she's got more minutes in the legs. She knows different little things about different opponents and how to play in different ways, and it's just going to help her develop as a player. So I think that I don't know how much pressure somebody like a Joe Montemurro could potentially have on helping her try and see that, maybe that, hey, you need to, it's great playing for a club like Arsenal, one of the top teams in the world, but if you're not getting the minutes, it's not actually helping you out that much. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with her, but what a player.
Yep, absolutely. And then last thing to touch on out of the press conference was Sam Kerr was brought up, as she always is at the press conferences. She didn't end up playing any minutes in this game. Joe Montemurro put it down to a slight calf problem that she picked up at Chelsea just before the international break. But she's been training, with the squad. Did a full training session on Thursday, did a full training session on Friday. And he does have plans to bring her in Adelaide. I mean, obviously, most people would want to see her starting and playing 90 minutes, but I think, you've got to remember she's been out injured for most of the last, 2.5 years, so it's probably worth just, rather than risk re-aggravating something, just slowly bring her in, right?
But you say that, and didn't he start her in the last window?
Yes.
So it's like it's kind of just gone. Actually, no, that was a silly mistake. I shouldn't have done that. Let's be a bit smarter about it. And I think maybe having that little bit of a niggle, back in clubland, that maybe what made him go, she has just come off the back of a really big injury. Let's maybe take it a bit slower than we were. I mean, obviously you want her in the team because she's such a difference maker and the kind of player that can change a game completely. But you don't want to be stupid about it and get her injured in a friendly and then not have her for the Asian Cup. And it's a difficult balancing act. He'll be under a lot of pressure to play her for sure in Adelaide, especially having not given her any minutes in Gosford. But you've just got to be smart as well and understand what's going to be best for the player and what's going to be best for the team. And I think if it's a case again of she's on the bench, the Matildas are winning 4-0, it's probably not worth bringing her on and risking any injury in something that's a foregone conclusion, right? So, the match state will have a lot to say in that as well. Or if it's even, the potential is as well, she starts, plays 45 and is off at half time. It is the alternative, right? And I wouldn't hate that, but it's going to be interesting to see how she's used and how, Joe Montemurro brings her back into this team, having maybe realised that just starting her every opportunity she's available is not the smartest move.
Yeah, most definitely. And yes, we'll be back on Wednesday to chat about the second game between Matildas and Football Ferns coming from Hindmarsh Stadium in Adelaide. But last night in Gosford it was Matildas 5, the Football Ferns 0. Jacob, thanks so much for joining us today.
No worries.
All right, we'll be back on Wednesday, and then we'll have 2 episodes next week. We're going to do Matilda's recap on Wednesday, and then we're going to do normal dub chat on Thursday. So a little double dose of the Dubcast for you here on part of the Brown Ball Australia podcast network. But for Jacob Stevens, my name is Poletti. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.